Feeling overwhelmed by the challenges of being a single parent? You are not alone. Welcome to Single Parent Reset, the podcast that helps you navigate the ups and downs of single parenthood and find the balance that you deserve. Whether you're a single parent, co-parent or solo parent, this is the show for you. I'm Orla and I'm a life coach for single parents and a single parent myself. I know how hard it can be, but I believe every single parent has the strength to create a life that they are proud of. For more information about me and the work that I do, please visit my website solascoaching.com. That is SOLAS coaching.com. In each episode of this podcast, we'll be shining a light on the unique struggles single parents face and cover the aspects of being a single parent that are often overlooked and left unspoken. I'll be sharing actionable steps to help you overcome these challenges and find more calm and fulfillment in your life. Single Parent Reset is your weekly opportunity to gain a fresh perspective, take back control, and feel more in charge of your journey. Before I get started on this week's episode, as always, a quick ask, can you please go to wherever you're listening to this and rate, review, subscribe, follow this show. Really appreciate it. I've noticed a big difference from people doing it. So if you haven't done it, please go ahead and do it. Right. Okay. Big thank you. Now, what I want to know from you is, when you think about the fact that you are a single parent, is there a part of you that can't help but think that you've failed in some way? This can be an all too familiar narrative many single parents have for themselves. And today, we're going to unpack why this is and help overcome any sense of having failed that you may have so that you can fully embrace your single parent status and your unique family setup with pride. One unfortunate thing that can come with being a single parent is a heavy and unspoken feeling that you've somehow failed to keep your family together, failed to make your marriage work, failed to give your child the ideal two-parent household, maybe even failed to live up to expectations of yourself and also what others had of you, or maybe even failing to be more financially secure by now. And the world doesn't really make it easier for us either. That feeling can be amplified every time you're surrounded by traditional families, or you could be hit with casual, unhelpful comments about your unique situation. And let's just be honest here, society, it doesn't exactly celebrate single parents. It can feel like the odds are completely stacked against us, and the message we quietly absorb is, you have messed this up. But we do have a choice. We can keep feeding that old, exhausting narrative, looking for all the evidence that confirms we are not enough, or we can start to rewrite the story, a story that is way more truthful and positive, not just for you, but also for your family. Because the reality of it all is, you are not failing. In fact, yes, and I'm going to use the word, you are thriving. Maybe not in every single moment, but in all the ways that really matter and count, you are. You're showing up, you're figuring things out, you're creating a life day by day and with love and effort and sometimes grit. And no, it's not always easy. These thoughts don't disappear overnight. This is something that we have to come back to time and time again, especially when those old beliefs can creep back in. But today we're going to walk through some really good ways to shift that narrative so that you can start recognizing all the ways that you are absolutely succeeding as a single parent every single day. Last summer, me and my son, we went on our now annual trip to a campsite in Denmark that I found, which, as I say this, I now realise is 100% a topic that I need to dive into in another episode. So more on that in a week or two. But back to today's episode. Me and my son, we had arrived at the campsite, and on the campsite there are cabins you can stay in. And as I mentioned in a recent episode of making life easier for ourselves as single parents, I was definitely going to opt for the easier option of a cabin rather than trying to source a tent in Denmark for that trip. So, me and my son, we got our keys to the cabin and I started to unpack our bits whilst my son ran off to play at the campsite playground full of excitement. Once we were settled in and me and my son were sitting at the tables and chairs outside our cabin, My son started asking about the other cabins that looked bigger to ours. So I explained to him, well, they were bigger because they had more beds in them and a kitchen and a bathroom. Now, our cabin was literally 2 beds, a heater and a fridge. It was nice, petite, and the campsite even called them the cosy cabins, and they truly were cosy. My son would not stop asking me why we weren't in one of the bigger cabins, and I should have booked a bigger cabin, he was saying. Now, along with questioning my parenting skills to produce a child that would even be so demanding, I could not shake the feeling that I had failed in some way by not splurging on a bigger cabin for me and my son, which is, by the way, 4 times the price of the normal cabins. But suddenly I was spiraling. I found myself questioning everything. Was I not giving him enough? Should I have spent more? Am I failing him somehow? It all just hit me like a ton of bricks. I then realised how ridiculous I was being. We were beyond lucky to be even going on this holiday. We did not need an even bigger cabin, as it was only just the 2 of us. But I couldn't believe that my son's tired moaning for the sake of moaning, which a 5-year-old tends to love, especially after a day of travelling. This had led me down a rabbit hole of how I had failed to provide a good enough holiday for us, which was completely untrue. I had made this happen. I booked it, paid for it, planned it, packed for it, showed up for it. My son was safe, fed, happy, and already having a great time. I realised just how well trodden this narrative was for me, that I was failing in some way as a parent purely because I was a single parent. And I quickly started to focus on the reasons I had not failed and in fact succeeded and was back on track to enjoying my holiday with my son. And I know I'm not the only single parent who have got lost in a whole world of my thoughts telling myself I'm a failure. And today we are going to talk through just how you can catch yourself when these thoughts come up and reframe them to a kinder story for yourself, one that puts you as the hero of your story and not the victim or the villain. The first thing I want you to do is become aware of the story you are telling yourself. So what is that story you're telling yourself when you feel like you failed? Is it, I broke up my family, my child is going to miss out, other people are doing this better than me? And then I want to ask yourself, is this a fact? Or is it just a story I'm telling myself? You may find that this has been a story you've been telling yourself to make sense of all that happened, and have never paused to look at the story and whether it is a helpful story for you that you are telling yourself. Is this a story I would want my children to be telling themselves is another great question to ask yourself. If not, what story would you rather them to be telling themselves? You may even want to ask, who is even saying I failed? Is it even your voice telling you these things, or something you picked up along the way? Maybe society, maybe it's your upbringing, maybe it's someone else's outdated idea of what a real family should look like. By understanding where this story has come from, you can shine a light on it and understand how it does not serve you anymore and is no longer your story to be telling yourself. Sometimes we can have a massive weight on our shoulders, feeling that we've let the most important people in our lives down. And I want you to gently ask yourself, when it comes to the idea that you have failed, who do I feel that I have let down the most? It could be my kids, my parents, myself. A client recently shared something I know a lot of you will relate to. She said she'd been stuck in a loop of self-blame, feeling like she deserved to be feeling bad, like it was some sort of penance for decisions she had made in the past. Now, if that's you, I want you to hear this clearly. You made the best decisions you could with the information you had at the time. You didn't have a crystal ball and you were doing your best. Accepting this truth is the first step to realising the weight of guilt and self-blame. When you truly believe you did what you could, it becomes easier to let go of the painful feeling that you've let others down. This frees up space to be kinder to yourself and focus on the present and future and not on the failures of the past. Now here's a big one, and it might sound strange at first, but trust me, it makes total sense. I want you to ask yourself, how are you benefiting from believing you failed? I know it does sound odd, but sometimes it actually feels easier to believe we failed if it gives us something to blame. It can feel more familiar than admitting that this new version of life might actually have some light in it. Because if there is good and positives in this new life, We might have to let go of that old story we've been clinging on to, the one where life was only valuable if it looked a certain way. This is what I want you to really think about here. Just because this wasn't the plan doesn't mean you are not allowed to enjoy it. You don't need to earn your joy, you just need to allow it. And yes, that can take time, but I promise you, with some self-compassion for yourself and also some self-reflection, you can get there. Now that we've looked at becoming aware of the story you've been telling yourself around failure, letting go of the feeling you've let others down and guilt for past decisions, and allowing yourself to see the positives in your situation, I have a small exercise for you that you can do now or you can save for later when you have a pen and paper at hand. I want you to finish the following sentence. I feel like I've failed at. So whatever that may be for you. And then I want you to finish this sentence. But I give myself permission to. So it could be let that story go, to move forward, to find joy anyway, whatever comes up for you. So it's finishing those two sentences. I feel like I've failed at, but I give myself permission to. You may be so surprised what comes up for you, but also how freeing it can be to write it down on paper and just get those thoughts out of your head. Now, moving on to re-looking at our failures through a positive lens. Be curious now with me and have a think. What if what you're calling a failure is actually a sign of strength? So maybe you've said to yourself, I failed to keep my marriage together. But another reframe for some people could be, I made a hard, brave choice, maybe the hardest one, to protect myself and my child's. Or let's say you've thought, I failed to giving my child a normal upbringing. A reframe here could be, I'm creating a loving, emotionally safe home, even when it's hard and not something extraordinary. Once you start exploring your own situation, you may notice that there are many ways in which you can reframe those perceived failures as in fact the making of you. And finally, the idea of single parenthood and that label being on you may still be a challenge. And I want to remind you that there is absolutely nothing wrong with being a single parent, and do not let anyone, even yourself, think otherwise. I know this can be a big one for many of you to come to terms with and get comfortable with, which is why I've done quite a few episodes dedicated around this topic. And one that I suggest you go and listen to is Unlocking Your Freedom, The Hidden Perks of Single Parenthood. This one is looking at all the benefits of single parenthood. So go and have a listen, and it can help you come one step closer to owning your single parent identity. And another tip here is, if you're really struggling with this, I cannot recommend enough reaching out and connecting with other single parents. They will help you see that you are in no way a failure, and you will get to connect with other people who are absolutely loving their single parent life, and also people who get the essence of what your day-to-day realities are and the challenges that are so unique to single parenthood. So there are many places to find single parents. Check out your local groups in your own area, Frollo, Gingerbread, Facebook, they're everywhere. But go check them out. I cannot recommend it enough. It will help you feel a little less alone and hopefully a little less of a failure. We've talked about something so many single parents carry quietly, that lingering sense of failure, that feeling that somehow we didn't do it right. But today we started to challenge that. We looked at the stories we tell ourselves and how often they're not facts, they're just inherited beliefs or outdated expectations. The weight of guilt, especially around feeling like we've let others down, and how we can start softening that guilt by recognising we did the best we could at the time. The surprising benefit of believing we failed, and how shifting out of that mindset can actually open us up to more peace, more joy and freedom. Reframing what a failure really means, seeing it not as a weakness, but as evidence of strength and growth. And finally, we looked at how to step into your new identity, not defined by what didn't go to plan, but how we show up in this new version of our life. If there's one thing that I want you to take from this episode, it's this. You're not failing, you're figuring it out one step at a time, and every effort matters. You don't have to prove your worth or earn your right to feel okay. You're allowed to feel good about where you are, even if it's not where you had planned. So please be kind to yourself and know that you are doing more than enough for your family. What is one story of failure in your life that you have been telling yourself that you are going to let go of today? Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Single Parent Reset. You have taken 15 minutes out of your day to do something for you, and that alone is a step in the right direction towards living a life you deserve. In next week's episode, seeing as I've just gave myself the idea, we're going to be talking all about summer holidays, and how to actually make a summer holiday that works for you and your children. It doesn't need to be a big trip away, it could just be a day trip. But yes, I'm already looking forward to recording that episode. If you're interested in working with me one-to-one, please go to my website solacecoaching.com for further details. And don't forget to follow my Instagram page @solacecoaching for more insightful content on living a life to be proud of as a single parent. As always, if you find this episode useful, please share with your friends and family. Remember, many single parents may seem like they have it all together, but this could be exactly what they need to help them move forward today.